Welcome, collectors and history lovers, to another deep dive video on Stamps Old World UK, your trusted place for all things related to vintage stamps, philatelic history, and current market values. Today, we're exploring one of the most exciting and evolving areas of the collectible world, the value of stamps in today's market, especially in 2025. If you've ever looked through an old envelope, inherited a stamp album, or bought a collection at a local fair, this video is for you. We're not just talking about dusty paper squares, we're talking about hidden gems that could be worth real money in today's world. From iconic US stamps like the 4 Freedoms 1-cent green issue, to British classics, wartime postal history, and rare commemoratives, stamps are finding new life in the hands of collectors who understand their true worth. Let us begin with one of the most recognized and symbolically rich stamps from the United States, the 1-cent 4 Freedoms green stamp. Issued in 1943 during the height of World War II, this stamp features the powerful imagery of a female figure holding a torch, accompanied by the words that echo President Franklin D. Roosevelt's foundational 4 Freedoms speech, freedom of speech and religion, from want and fear. This stamp is not merely a tool for mailing letters. It is a miniature tribute to the ideals that defined a generation. Today, collectors are more interested than ever in stamps that tell powerful stories. This 1-cent green stamp, despite its mass circulation during wartime, holds a unique place in history and remains a favorite among philatelists around the globe. In the modern stamp market, its value depends heavily on condition. A used stamp in average condition might sell for 25 to 50 cents. However, a mint condition version, especially one that is well centered, with full gum and no hinge marks, can bring in between $1 and $5. If you're lucky enough to own a full sheet, you might be sitting on something worth upwards of $25 to $40. Rare printing errors or odd perforations can elevate the price even further, with some examples selling for $100 or more to specialized collectors. But this is just the beginning. In 2025, we are seeing a significant shift in the way the world views postage stamps. No longer confined to niche hobbyists, stamp collecting is entering the mainstream as people discover that stamps are tiny historical documents filled with culture, politics, and beauty. Just like rare coins, stamps have become valuable assets. The market has expanded through digital tools, with online auctions, appraisal apps, social media groups, and collector forums making it easier than ever to identify, value, buy, and sell stamps. As of this year, there has been an upward trend in demand for vintage stamps, especially those from the pre-1950 era, colonial issues, and commemorative designs from the mid-20th century. Stamps that used to sit forgotten in drawers are now fetching hundreds or even thousands of dollars at live and online auctions. Take the British stamp market for example. Early Queen Victoria issues like the penny red and penny black are already highly prized, but even Edward VII and George V era stamps are gaining traction. Collectors pay close attention to condition, centered designs, clean perforations, and vibrant color matter more than ever. A pristine mint example of a penny red with a rare plate number can go for hundreds of dollars. Similarly, King George VI wartime stamps, especially with rare overprints or regional printings from colonies like India, South Africa, or Australia, are gaining momentum in the global market. These stamps represent an era of global communication and historical upheaval. Buyers are willing to pay premium prices to preserve and own these relics of a complex past. Back in the United States, other series like the presidential issue of 1938, the Liberty issue of the 1950s, and the Airmail series have also seen notable increases in value. While the standard versions may be common, specific errors, color variations, and mint sheets can command significantly higher prices. For example, an inverted Jenny, the most famous US error stamp, recently sold for over $1.5 million. But you don't need $1 million stamp to make your collection worthwhile. Even a group of clean, well-preserved stamps from the 1930s to 1950s can add up to several $100s if organized, cataloged, and properly stored. The global market in 2025 is also being shaped by the rise of thematic collecting. Collectors are no longer just sorting by country. Many now collect based on themes like aviation, royalty, World War history, art, sports, animals, and famous leaders. That means a simple stamp with Winston Churchill's portrait or a stamp featuring a 1940s warplane can sell for far more than its face value, especially if the design is unique or scarce. Demand is especially high in Europe, the United States, Canada, and Asia, where collectors are turning to thematic collections to tell stories and build displays. Another major factor affecting today's market value is stamp grading. Much like coins, professionally graded stamps are becoming more important in serious transactions. Services like the Philatelic Foundation and PSE, professional stamp experts, offer expert opinions, certifications, and encapsulated holders that make stamps easier to sell and authenticate. A graded stamp with a high score can be worth several times more than an identical but ungraded piece. This trend is pushing collectors to take better care of their holdings, store them in acid-free albums, avoid handling with bare fingers, and avoid sunlight or moisture, all of which can reduce a stamp's value over time. Let's now touch on how inflation and global economic uncertainty are influencing the collectible markets. As traditional investments like stocks and real estate face volatility, people are turning to tangible assets like coins, precious metals, and yes, rare stamps. Stamps are small, easy to store, and have a proven track record of long-term appreciation. Some collectors buy for passion, while others buy as part of a strategy to diversify their financial portfolio. This has led to a rise in demand for stamps in great condition and with strong historical narratives. If you own a stamp that commemorates a significant moment, like a royal coronation, a wartime declaration, or a peace treaty, there is a good chance it's worth more than you think. So what can you do if you think you have a valuable stamp? First, do your research. There are free online catalogs like Stamp World, Collect, and the Scott Catalog, which help you identify your stamps. Next, join collector communities online or locally. There's nothing more helpful than engaging with fellow collectors and experts who can give honest advice and even help you find buyers. You can also attend stamp shows, submit your stamps for appraisal, or get them graded by a professional service. Most importantly, always store your stamps carefully. Use stamp tongs, keep them in protective sleeves, and make sure your storage area is cool and dry. This will preserve your stamps' quality and keep their value intact. In summary, the stamp market in 2025 is vibrant, valuable, and full of opportunities. The humble 1-cent for freedom stamp is a perfect example of how something small, once used for sending letters, can now represent a piece of living history and real monetary value. From wartime postage to royal commemoratives, and from colonial issues to modern thematic designs, there's a world of value waiting to be discovered inside old albums and boxes. Next up, the 1-cent green United States postage stamp featuring Stephen Collins Foster. This stamp was released in 1940 as part of the famous American series, a collection that paid tribute to the country's great contributors in various fields such as science, education, the arts, and politics. Stephen Foster, often referred to as the father of American music, was one of the most prolific songwriters of the 19th century. His work left an enduring mark on American culture, and the decision to honor him on a stamp reflects both his significance and the growing interest in cultural history through philately. The stamp features a finely detailed portrait of Foster surrounded by musical motifs, printed in a rich green color. For collectors, this stamp is not just about postage, it's about preserving the memory of a nation's musical heritage. In the stamp collecting world of 2025, this particular 1-cent Stephen Foster stamp holds more than symbolic value, it carries a respectable monetary value as well. While millions of these were printed and circulated, condition and context play major roles in determining what they're worth today. A standard used version of this stamp typically sells for between 25 cents and 75 cents. However, a mint, never hinged specimen can command between $2 to $5. Collectors are particularly interested in blocks of 4, plate number blocks, and full sheets, which can increase the value dramatically, in some cases reaching $15 to $25 or more if the item is in pristine, archival condition. Moreover, stamps from the famous American series that include special cancellations, unique plate positions, or error varieties are in high demand. These rare examples are often auctioned off by major philatelic auction houses and can sometimes bring in hundreds of dollars depending on the rarity of the error and the quality of the preservation. It's also important to recognize that stamps like the Stephen Foster issue have gained new attention because of the rise of interest in thematic collecting. Music-themed stamp collections are growing rapidly. Collectors worldwide are now creating dedicated albums around composers, musicians, instruments, and musical milestones. The Foster stamp fits perfectly into this niche, along with other musical legends depicted on stamps throughout the decades. This type of thematic collecting has opened up new markets in Europe, Asia, and South America, making U.S. stamps like this one appealing far beyond American borders. In fact, music educators, museums, and historians often seek out these stamps for displays and educational materials, which adds a layer of cultural demand that influences its market price. Beyond the value of individual stamps, it's the stories they tell that continue to elevate their desirability. The Stephen Foster 1-cent stamp is a window into a time when America was honoring its intellectual and artistic pioneers through national postage. And in a world that is increasingly digital, these printed artifacts become even more precious. In today's collector's market, owning a piece of this era means preserving a physical link to a story, a figure, and a sentiment that defined a generation. This is why the value of stamps in 2025 is not just financial but deeply emotional and cultural as well. Now, if you combine stamps like the 1-cent For Freedom's issue and the 1-cent Stephen Collins Foster commemorative into a broader themed collection, focusing on American ideals, culture, and national heritage, the overall value can increase significantly. Many serious collectors will pay a premium for curated collections that tell a cohesive historical narrative. For example, pairing this stamp with others in the 1940 Famous Americans series, including those featuring James McNeill Whistler, John Philip Sousa, or Mark Twain, can lead to a much higher valuation of your collection as a whole. In the world of philately, context is often king, and grouping stamps by theme, issue, and historical period can result in larger sales and more buyer interest. As we continue to examine the stamp market of today, it becomes more and more clear that the most valuable assets in your collection might not be the rarest, but rather the most meaningful and best preserved. In 2025, collectors are prioritizing historical depth, condition, and presentation. If you own stamps like the Stephen Collins Foster 1-cent stamp, it's a good time to organize, research, and possibly get your collection appraised. You never know when a stamp you once thought was ordinary turns out to be a prized item worth real money. Especially in a world where collectors and investors alike are turning to physical, portable assets with deep cultural ties, stamps are proving to be timeless treasures. So whether you're a seasoned collector with decades of experience or someone who just found an old stamp album in a relative's attic, know this: the stamp market in 2025 is alive, growing, and welcoming. There is always value to be found, whether monetary or historical. Here on Stamps Old World UK, we strive to give you the insight, knowledge, and tools to identify your hidden gems and appreciate the deep stories they hold. Next up, the broader context in which these three iconic 1-cent stamps were issued and how they reflect not just postal history, but the mindset of an era. In the early to mid-20th century, stamps were not simply a tool for mailing letters, they were powerful instruments of national storytelling. Governments carefully chose subjects, engravings, and inscriptions to promote pride, heritage, and shared values. The For Freedom stamp, with its bold declaration of liberty and justice, reminded Americans of what they were fighting for during a world war. The Stephen Collins Foster stamp celebrated creativity and the cultural thread of music that connects all Americans. The Andrew Jackson stamp, as part of the Great Presidential Series, reaffirmed the importance of leadership and continuity in the nation's democratic tradition. Each one of these stamps is a snapshot of America's identity during pivotal decades, and in 2025, collectors are increasingly seeking out stamps with this kind of historical and thematic depth. In today's market, the value of these stamps goes well beyond their face value or even their rarity. The real value lies in the story, the design, the cultural significance, and the way they have been preserved through time. In recent years, we've seen a steady increase in interest in 1-cent green stamps, not only because they are visually appealing, but because they represent an accessible entry point into serious stamp collecting. New collectors often begin with U.S. classics from the 1930s and 1940s because they are still affordable yet meaningful. Dealers report that high-grade, mid-condition stamps from this period are becoming harder to find as more are being absorbed into private collections. As a result, prices are climbing steadily, and auctions in 2025 are reflecting that shift. Where a block of Andrew Jackson 1-cent stamps might have sold for $8 to $10 a decade ago, today that same block in post office fresh condition could bring in $25 or more. Full mint sheets or era varieties could easily push that figure higher, especially if authenticated. Another dimension that influences today's stamp values is postal history, the study and collection of covers, envelopes, and documents that show how stamps were used in real-world mailing systems. A simple 1-cent For Freedom stamp on a wartime envelope, mailed from a U.S. military base, complete with censor marks and historical back stamps, becomes a much more valuable item than the stamp alone. Collectors prize these covers because they place the stamp in historical context. In fact, Postal historians will often pay premiums for intact envelopes, especially when they include rare destinations, unusual rates, or handwritten content. A used 1-cent Andrew Jackson stamp on a first-day cover, especially with a dated cancellation and a story behind it, can fetch $10 to $15, or even more if it is part of a presidential-themed set. The technological side of stamp collecting has also revolutionized how we understand value. In 2025, collectors are increasingly relying on high-resolution scanning, ultraviolet light testing, and digital watermark detectors to verify the authenticity of older stamps. As a result, fakes and reproductions, which once flooded the market, are being filtered out. This means that genuine, well-preserved stamps like the ones we've discussed today are becoming more prized. Graded stamps, especially those professionally certified and sealed, now represent a growing percentage of high-end sales. The market rewards clarity, quality, and provenance, and stamps with certificates of authenticity from leading bodies like the Philatelic Foundation or PSE are seeing rapid value appreciation. For the everyday collector, this simply means that it's worth the effort to preserve your stamps properly, protect them from humidity and light, and consider professional appraisal if the condition is excellent. Now let us consider the importance of storytelling in stamp collecting. Modern collectors are increasingly drawn to building narratives through their albums, whether it's a timeline of US presidents, a collection of cultural icons, or stamps issued during times of war or peace. A collection that includes the 4 Freedoms stamp, the Stephen Foster issue, and the Andrew Jackson definitive becomes a powerful visual essay about what America stood for between the 1930s and 1940s. It tells the story of a nation in flux, fighting for freedom overseas, celebrating its cultural roots, and reflecting on its political foundations. When organized, labeled, and presented thoughtfully, such a collection doesn't just hold monetary value, it becomes a museum-worthy artifact in its own right. For those interested in historical exhibitions or educational outreach, such stamp collections are being increasingly used in classrooms, public displays, and digital archives. Many schools and community history programs are now seeking to acquire or display themed stamp panels, and collectors are finding new opportunities to share their passion with the public. In addition to their historical and financial value, these stamps offer aesthetic beauty that continues to attract design enthusiasts, artists, and historians. The engraving techniques used in the mid-20th century were highly intricate. Each line and shadow on these stamps was created by skilled engravers using steel dies, resulting in incredible detail and durability. Unlike many of today's digitally printed stamps, the craftsmanship of these earlier issues gives them a tactile, timeless feel that modern collectors deeply appreciate. The green hues of these 1-cent stamps. From the deep forest tones of the Foster issue to the crisp olive shade of the Andrew Jackson, are rich and elegant, displaying how color theory was applied subtly to reflect the dignity of the subject. Even when displayed under magnification, these stamps retain their composure, revealing layers of detail invisible to the naked eye. It is this visual quality, paired with historical gravity, that makes them enduring works of miniature art. As we draw this extended video closer to a close, it is important to understand one final point: the future of stamp collecting is bright. While it is true that fewer people use physical mail today, the interest in collecting and preserving stamps is growing. In a fast-paced, digital world, the permanence of stamps offers a sense of connection to the past, a tangible thread that binds generations. Younger collectors are joining the fold, and the community is expanding globally thanks to online forums, YouTube channels like this one, and international stamp exhibitions. What was once considered an old-fashioned hobby has become a smart investment, a calming pastime, and a powerful storytelling tool. Stamps like the 1-cent 4 Freedoms, Stephen Collins Foster, and Andrew Jackson are not just relics, they are reminders of who we were, who we are, and who we might become. Thank you, friends and fellow philatelists, for staying with us through this in-depth exploration of America's classic 1-cent stamps and their value in the stamp market of 2025. We hope this video has opened your eyes to the richness of this miniature world, where history, culture, art, and investment all come together. If you have any of these stamps in your collection, or have questions about others, don't hesitate to comment below. We'd love to feature more stamps and stories in upcoming videos. Please remember to subscribe to Stamps Old World UK for more valuable guides, collector tips, and rare stamp spotlights. Until next time, may your albums stay clean, your hinges stay gentle, and your discoveries be priceless.